not injurious to the recommendation that she got. We have to leave it there. Lead story this evening. We return on Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. The news comes up. Curlin and Stephen are waiting in the wings.
Jamaica's favorite drama, Your Guilty Pleasure.
You listen to me, is it, Reverend Martin? I don't want you to gamble with my life or the lives of our children.
Royal Palm Estate is on CVM every Tuesday and Sunday at 9 p.m.
Start saving for your golden years with a Sagicor Lifestyle Approved Retirement Scheme. The time by Sagicor Life is
7 o'clock.
Hi, I'm Celine Gordon, host of Holy Road.
Hey everybody, what's up? It's your boy John Mark Wigan, host on the show Holy Road. Listen, people need to know what's happening in the churches and in ministry in all of Jamaica. It's an absolute blessing. We're really excited to share this.
Tune in to CVM, see it happen.
What's your story? What's your sign? Who dreamers? Don't care what other people say. We're doing this in our own way. We come alive. We come alive. We come alive. We're doing this in our own way. We come alive.
CVM News at 7 headlines Tuesday, courtesy of Heart NSTA Trust, Jamaica's Human Development Agency.
Tonight in CVM News at 7, charge him. Integrity Commission recommends charges for former PNP MP. Find out why. Juliet Holness relents. Speaker releases Attorney General advice on IC reports, and Parliament praises former clerk.
Also this evening, Clarendon businesswoman shot and killed. In the business report, tips and trends, the power of an emergency fund. While in sports, Arsenal rampant against Chelsea. From Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7. I'm Stephen McHugh.
And I'm Carolyn Brown. Thanks so much for joining us. It's Tuesday, April 23, 2024. Another page has turned in the months-long debacle in the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions.
The Attorney General, on behalf of the government, followed through with plans to appeal Friday's court ruling in which the second tenure extension of former DPP Paula Llewellyn was deemed unlawful. Natalia Clark has this update.
The Andrew Holness-led administration remains steadfast in its endeavor to retain Paula Llewellyn's incumbency in the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, following a court ruling that effectively nullified a 2-year extension granted to her last year. The Ministry of Justice confirmed on Tuesday the filing of an appeal. Their contention rests upon the premise that Llewellyn, under the purview of the 2017 Pension Act and the amended Section 96, subsection 1 of the Constitutional Act, is entitled to retain her position until reaching the age of 65.
On April 19, 2024, the full court delivered a judgment in the case of Philip Paulwell et al. Against the Attorney General of Jamaica. The court upheld the constitutional amendments, confirming the valid extension of the retirement age for these positions to 65 years. However, despite this affirmation, the court ruled that the current DPP, Paula Llewellyn, could not remain in her position until age 65, creating a significant contradiction within its verdict.
That's Justice Minister Delroy Chuck. He's of the view there is no valid ground on which a change in the retirement age can be approved for all other public offices and for future DPPs and Auditors General, but not for an incumbent.
In response to this conflicting outcome, the government, represented by the Attorney General, has filed an appeal with the Court of Appeal to resolve this inconsistency. The appeal argues for a harmonization of the retirement provisions, maintaining the intended retirement benefits for all affected public officers as per sections 2.2 for the DPP and 3.2 for the Auditor General, in alignment with the Constitution.
The minister, whose resignation was recently demanded by the opposition People's National Party over the ongoing saga, says the government is committed to ensuring all amendments serve their intended purpose.
The government remains committed to ensuring that statutory and constitutional amendments serve the intended purposes without ambiguity or disadvantage to any public officer.
Former DPP Llewellyn ascended to the post in early 2008, clocking over 15 years in the role. With calls for change in the nation's highest legal office, many are raising eyebrows at the government's dogged determination to retain her. Natalia Clark, CVM News.
To another developing situation now, former Westmoreland Central Member of Parliament Dwayne Vaz could face corruption charges after reportedly failing to submit requested documents concerning Estelle Global Services, for which he was one of 2 directors at the time. Now, the recommendation formed part of a 20-page Integrity Commission report tabled in the Parliament today. Nico Lewis has been going through that document. Nico?
Thanks so much, Caroline. Now, the corruption charges could be laid against former Member of Parliament, as Caroline just advised, the PNP's Dwayne Vaz, following investigations into matters regarding his statutory declaration up to December 31, 2019. In the latest Integrity Commission report tabled in the Parliament today, the IC says there are grounds for suspecting that an act of corruption was committed, and it is recommending that the matter be taken to the Director of Corruption Prosecution. Therefore, it notes, of course, that the Director of Corruption Prosecution may take actions deemed appropriate. However, the bone of contention rests on the fact that the IC says while he submitted his statutory declaration on time, additional information was later requested about a company for which he was one of 2 directors between 2014 and 2021 based on their findings. It notes that the declaration period ended December 31, 2019 and filed on March 31, 2020. So the IC says the information requested as at November 3, 2020 and November 16, 2020 had to do with financial statements for Estelle Global Services for the year ended December 31, 2019. And despite the IC insisting several reminders were sent to the MP, it states Mr. Vaz failed to comply with the Commission's request. And after much effort, and it later fined the MP at the time $250,000 Jamaican dollars to be paid at the Tax Administration Office of Jamaica, the tax office as we call it, and information that was outstanding still to be submitted. So it was a 2-clause thing. And the fine is a fixed penalty for allowing the then parliamentarian to discharge any liability of conviction. Now, Vaz just this evening told us on Lead Story a while ago that the news, however, that he was contacted by the IC regarding the dates or issued any reminders were not necessarily so. He also said he did not pay the fine of $250,000. Mr. Vaz also told CVM News that his lawyers are now in dialogue with the IC, which is why he's shocked at the report being tabled today in the Parliament. And nonetheless, the report recommends that the Director of Corruption Prosecution steps in. So that's it. It is right back to you now, guys, at the desk.
Thank you. Well, so much happened out of Parliament, which resumed only today after a break following the budget debate earlier this year. Now, another top ticket item was a tribute to former House Clerk Valerie Curtis, who retired under a shroud of controversy a few weeks ago. Here's Ramon Gordon with the details.
Leader of Government Business in the Lower House, Edmund Bartlett, opened the annual sectoral debate in Parliament on Tuesday. It's the first sitting since the abrupt April 9 emergency session, convened to amend the Finance Ministry's budget faux pas. Among the unfinished business was the matter of the missive sent to retired House Clerk Valerie Curtis, where the House Speaker, Juliet Holness, accused her of failing to comply with her ruling for handling special reports. Curtis subsequently denied those claims in media interviews. The government had promised to pay proper tribute to Curtis once the House had reconvened after the break. Today, it honored its word.
Ms. Curtis served as an educator, impacting young minds in her hometown of Abuka in St. Anne, and later across other educational institutions in Kingston and St. Andrew. Her teaching career and her later role here at Parliament indicated an innate capacity to give herself for the service of others.
I want to thank her for the service she has given to Jamaica and to this House.
As Prime Minister, I found her to be quite helpful and, again, an invaluable resource.
House Speaker Juliet Holness also sang high praises for Curtis. However, she stopped just short of offering an apology.
Our differences in perspectives on a particular administrative matter was never intended to distract from her years of service and valuable contribution to the Parliament. I continue to hold the retired clerk in high regard and acknowledge her contribution and not allow that to be overshadowed for any reason.
The opposition restated its desire to have the now infamous letter withdrawn before also offering tribute to the public servant. Ms. Curtis was notably absent from the meeting. However, Minister Bartlett explained that the government had honored her wishes on the matter. Curtis retired on April 6 after nearly 3 decades of service.
In the course of professional relationships, there will inevitably be differences in perspectives when it comes to assessing the overall contribution of the individual. We must be fulsome. We wish her well.
Ramon Gordon for CVM News.
And in this developing story, the Jamaican government has officially recognized the sovereignty of the Palestinian state. The announcement came today following intense cabinet discussions on Monday. Foreign Affairs Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith says the government's unwavering support for a two-state solution is unchanged, considering it the most viable path towards resolving the conflict. The minister also reaffirmed Jamaica's support for an immediate ceasefire, the release of hostages, and increased humanitarian aid for the people of Gaza. Jamaica now joins the ranks of 140 member states of the United Nations in recognizing the state of Palestine. Over 30,000 Palestinians have been killed in a war described globally as a genocide. Stay with us when we return the business segment.
CVM News at 7 headlines Tuesday, courtesy of Heart NSTA Trust, Jamaica's Human Development Agency.
So I'm at a party vibing with a 10. At least I hope it's a 10. But me not sure because my contacts fell down the bathroom sink, so I can't see a thing. I don't know what to do. What I do know, though, is the smell of KFC hot wings. Delicious, irresistible wings I can enjoy with my eyes closed. KFC hot wings, a wing for the win.
Truth is, HIV affects everyone. Truth is, avoiding care leads to a weaker immune system. That means you could get really sick. The truth is, the hardest pill to swallow isn't the medication. It's the problems that follow when you don't take them. Let's get through this together. Remain in care. You can live life to the fullest with HIV. And that's the truth. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
CVM News at 7 Tuesday, brought to you by KFC.
KFC Hot Wings, a wing for the win. KFC, it's finger licking good.
Welcome back. We're not quite into our business segment just yet, as coming out of Parliament, the mystery surrounding what exactly was penned by Attorney General Derek McCoy last year when he was asked by the Speaker of the House of Representatives to give his opinion on how reports should be tabled has been lifted. That letter was tabled after mounting calls from the opposition PNP, civil groups and Jamaicans at large. Here's Natalia Clark with more.
Speaker of the House of Representatives, Juliet Holness, has had a match to her feet for about 6 months after deviating from the parliamentary norm to table all reports received at the earliest convenience. Acting on advice from Attorney General Derek McCoy, she mandated all special and annual reports from the Integrity Commission first to be sent to its Oversight Committee before being made public, and Auditor General reports will first be sent to the relevant minister, after which 2 months is allotted for a response. After calls from myriad groups, including the opposition PNP, on Tuesday, April 23, 2024, she relented.
This does not in any way set precedents for the tabling of legal advice given to the Speaker in the future. However, as Speaker, my ultimate duty is to ensure clarity and full understanding by the Jamaican people in public affairs.
Regarding Auditor General reports, the Attorney General concluded those pertaining to public bodies should be treated as stipulated by Section 13A of the Public Bodies Management and Accountability Act. That section says the reports should go to the minister, and after 2 months, the Speaker is tasked with making it public. Regarding Integrity Commission reports, the Attorney General said the law does not stipulate if the reports should be tabled before or after being sent to the Oversight Committee, and so the power to decide rests in the hands of the House, comprising the Speaker and its members. CVM News will delve deeper into the documents in subsequent newscasts. Natalia Clark, CVM News.
And parliamentarians are mourning 3 deaths this evening, including the sudden passing of the daughter of Natalie Garvey, MP for St. Catherine North Central. She was among those who received words of comfort today amid crippling loss. Ramon Gordon reports.
The lower house was uncharacteristically somber early Tuesday as Parliament paid a tribute to 3 fallen Jamaicans. First was the trailblazing woman MP Princess Laws, who died last Saturday at 79. Law made history in 1980 when she earned the Jamaican Labour Party's first victory in the St. Anne Northwestern constituency. Members remembered her as a pioneer.
Ms. Law served as Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Youth and Community Development, focusing on women's affairs and children's services.
She made history throughout her career. She exemplified compassion and an unwavering dedication to the people she served.
Also, that is Sonia Vaz, mother to current Transport Minister Darrell Vaz. She transitioned on Sunday.
It's one of those experiences that you can never adequately express in words. And I just want to join in conveying to the member and his family that they don't stand alone.
Those of us who would have lost a mother would understand. It's not an easy road. So I say to the member from West Portland, in the days ahead, there will be a sharp, sudden pain that will run through the bottom of your stomach, and there will be a weight on your shoulder. Let that weight force you to the ground, because it is from the ground, on your knees, you can approach the throne of grace, and it is there and only there you will find comfort.
The Puerto Rican native was the former wife of Minister Vaz's father, former government minister Douglas Vaz. MP for St. Catherine North Central, Natalie Nita Garvey, is also mourning a loss, most tragic. Her daughter passed suddenly on Monday.
We all, as parents, expect our children to bury us. but never for us to have to deal with their passing. I happen to know that her daughter has been so dear to her. And as a parent too, I can't begin to imagine what she's going through. I cannot.
Garvey was noticeably absent from Parliament today. Ramon Gordon for CVM News.
In other news, there was bloodshed in Elgin Town, Lucy, Hanover last week when 52-year-old Eric Collins shot and killed his Canadian girlfriend, 52-year-old April Sheila Venidum Labine. Now, the man has since turned himself in to the police and has been charged with murder. Here's Celine Campbell with more.
Tragedy struck in Elgin Town, Lucy, Hanover. 52-year-old Eric Collins, otherwise called Steve or Mad Max, of a Trelawney address, was being sought by the police for the death of 52-year-old April Sheila Venidum Labine. Reports are that Collins and Labine, who shared a common law relationship, rented an apartment flat in Elgin Town since last December. Last week, Wednesday, shots were heard coming from the flat, and Collins was seen driving away moments later. Residents grew suspicious and called the police, after which a search of the house revealed Lavine's lifeless body with gunshot wounds to the head lying in a pool of blood. Collins, after fleeing the scene, turned himself in to the Denham Town Police on Friday in Kingston, where he was transported back to Hanover. He confessed to the killing and was charged with murder. Speaking to our news team, PNP caretaker for Eastern Hanover, Andrea Perkis, appealed to residents to be extra vigilant about strangers they welcome in their communities.
I just want to appeal to residents, to families. You know, if you're a neighbor, if you're a family member, and you are noticing patterns of arguments, fights, report it to the police. Report it to the police. The police is there to protect us. Talk to your families, you know, have conversations with them, but don't just have a blind eye to the situation, because as you can see, the end result most of the times is murder.
She also urged women to do background checks on persons they choose to get involved with. But it doesn't stop there.
Talking with the residents here in the Elgin Town area, I'm learning that this couple lived in Canada together, that the gentleman was indeed deported back home to Jamaica. I also learned that they were involved in crime. And so sometimes persons, you know, migrate into your community and give your community a bad name.
This is the second death spurred by domestic violence in the past week. Celine Campbell for CVM News.
Stay with CVM News at 7. When we come back, the business segment.
So I'm at a party vibing with a 10. At least I hope it's a 10. But I'm not sure because my contacts fell down the bathroom sink, so I can't see a thing. I don't know what to do. What I do know, though, is the smell of KFC hot wings. Delicious, irresistible wings I can enjoy with my eyes closed. KFC hot wings, a wing for the win.
Our days get a little complex sometimes. Often so many things make sense, yet so many do not. We are being intentional about giving prominence to the big stories in order to clarify and enlighten. Lead Story explains who, what, when, where, why, and how. Lead Story with George Davis, weekdays at 6:30 p.m. on CVM TV.
Good evening and welcome to the Business Report. I'm Andrew Laidley. Now, in a world full of uncertainties, having an emergency fund is crucial. But what is an emergency fund? Also known as rainy day money, an emergency fund refers to cash that's specifically set aside for unplanned expenses or financial emergencies. It's a financial safety net for unexpected expenses like medical emergencies, job loss, or car payments. Now, imagine what would happen if you or your child needed immediate surgery or if a relative suddenly passed away. Both scenarios qualify as an emergency and can require significant cash up front. Now, imagine you had no cash to fall back on. Would you be left begging? Would you borrow? Would you deny yourself of essential things? Or would you take an emergency loan? Well, all of these outcomes can be avoided if you take the time to set up an emergency fund, which will provide peace of mind and prevent you from going into debt in times of crisis. Now, in case you're wondering how to start, here are some tips from Michelle Sinclair Doyley, Corporate Manager for Group Financial Partnership Support and Financial Education at JMMB.
So I know that some persons, they say, oh, well, you know I have to pay my car insurance. Emergency! No, it's not an emergency. You could have foreseen that you would have had the car insurance payment to make. That's not an emergency. So what would be an emergency? An emergency would be, for example, the engine of the car failing and you having to purchase a brand new engine. That is not something you would have considered necessarily, but it would not be an emergency to say you have to service your car. Something that is good. So an emergency can be good, it can be bad, but you want to make sure that you have the money set aside to be either your coverage when it is raining, or it can be an opportunity grabber when there's a wonderful opportunity in the market for you. Most financial experts would say to have 3 to 6 months of your expenses in an emergency fund. So let's think about it. Everybody listening to me, what are your expenses? How much does it come up to every single month? If it is 100,000, inflate it by 30%. Why are we inflating it? Because most times we miss some one-off expenses. So we may miss the car insurance, we may miss the fact that we need to pay our taxes or something like that, a one-off expense. And so I would say inflate it by 30%. So if you originally said 100,000, now your figure is 130. Now you multiply that figure by 3, and that is the minimum you should have in an emergency fund. And you multiply that figure by 6, and that is the maximum most persons who are earning a steady salary and who are in secure employment or have secure income. That is what you'd have. Now you notice that I would have made a distinction, because if you're not in a steady job or you don't have steady income stream, or your job is just insecure, the source of income is insecure, then you'll have to have more than that. And I know many people are saying, but then it becomes more difficult. I know. But then because it becomes more difficult for you to know if you're going to have money, you have to make sure you have the money, right? And so for some persons, it needs to be more than that. But you can speak to your financial professional and they can work out for you exactly what your emergency fund ought to be.
Now, the University of the West Indies, Mona, is moving full speed ahead with plans to revitalize and monetize its physical assets. Pro Vice Chancellor and Campus Principal Denzel Williams made the announcement recently.
As part of the revenue revolution for the campus, we're looking at areas where we can actually use our physical assets to generate significant revenue for the campus, and also use our core business to generate revenue for the campus. We have been talking about it for a while, and as they say in Jamaica, you ride, whistle and chew gum at the same time. And so we don't have the luxury, based on where we are now in our financial life cycle, to just keep planning without execution. And so today I'm very pleased that we're here as a manifestation that we are not only planning, but we are actually executing at the same time.
And that's your business report. Up next is your market summary. Do stay tuned for more CVM News at 7 with Curlin and Stephen after the break.